toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine...
That is the sound of the party about to begin.
This fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome to show number 335, which, as our good friend Chris Morris was kind enough to point out, has us halfway to 400.
Halfway to 400.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome to the program. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On today's show, distilleries you must visit. And the article actually says, distilleries you must visit before you die. But I just thought that was a little macabre, you know. So, I don't want to talk about dying.
That's not as good as right now.
But I do want to talk about distilleries.
It's
so we'll talk about
it's
that.
also not as good as I visited a distillery recently, and you won't believe what happened.
Yeah, people are talking about distilleries, and you won't believe what they say. But anyway, distilleries you must visit, and the best whiskey bars in the United States. And of course,
Whiskey bar.
Because we're talking about whiskey bars, we're going to be tasting a tequila, because that's how we roll here on Smokin' and Toastin'. We will be tasting the Toro Tequila Reposado. This is a tequila that was gifted to me by our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez. Yeah, she gave it to me. And I was like, okay. First of all, I usually always go for the añejos. So if our tequila expert is suggesting this Reposado is good, I'm excited to find out, you know.
So I was looking at the tequila bottle that you have. She gave me one of those. She gifted me one of those. And the one I had was the Te Amo, and we'd had it on the show before. So I just drank mine, you know.
Te Amo is quite good.
Yeah,
it's
I just drank it.
Want to say, before I forget to do this, a huge thanks to Paul Nuss and his staff at Cigars International in Conroe, Texas.
That a blast?
We
or
had
what?
so much fun doing last week's show there, and it was just wonderful. And I'm still dreaming about their humidor. Their humidor is awesome.
It's pretty beautiful.
When you want to say well stocked, they are well stocked. Yeah. Other things we'll be doing on the program today, besides tasting our Toro Tequila Reposado, we'll be tasting some beers from Brooklyn Brewery. The Brooklyn Lager, Amber Lager. I have not tried this yet, but I have a great deal of faith in Brooklyn Brewery because those guys.
I've had the Amber Lager, and yeah, I can't wait.
Okay, good. Have you had Harpoon's Summer Style New England Blonde Ale?
No.
All right, well, I'm excited about this. I did some research. It is not the Harpoon summer beer that I remember. I actually talked about it, I think, on last week's show.
Yeah.
That I remember I always loved when that time would come around. I went on the Harpoon website because I wanted to see if they just kind of rebranded it, or if this was different.
Or if it was just
apparently,
done.
apparently it is different because the original summer ale was under their list of retired beers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so which was actually kind of fun to go through. I was like, oh, why'd they retire that? That was good. Anyway, we'll be trying that today. And something that Jill Rook gave us, Jill Rook from St. Arnold Brewery, when we had her and Abby Heim, her friend, on the anniversary show, number 333, she left behind a couple of very interesting bottles of Bishop's Barrel. And so today we'll be trying the Bishop's Barrel 20, which is a double style aged in red wine barrels with Brettanomyces and raspberries.
Oh, so big and sour.
That doesn't sound good
ridiculous.
at all, does it?
Right?
So looking forward to that. And, of course, we'll tell you about some cigars to watch for, a lot of interesting things going on in the world of craft beer, including a very interesting question. Is Trappist beer going extinct? We'll talk about that, and that would be a shame. But we'll talk about that.
Trappist-style ales?
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, we'll also tell you that about some cigars to watch for. And I have this list, but I may save it. I have a very suspect list of celebrity whiskeys that are worth drinking, according to the list.
A very suspect list?
Yeah, here's why it's suspect. I started looking at the list because I thought this might be fun for us to talk about, right? And one of the whiskeys...
Don't tell me they suggest proper 12.
Yes, it's on the list.
Oh.
So here's what I'm thinking, and I'm gonna be gone for next week's show.
Yeah.
But for the week after, I think I'm actually going to buy a bottle of proper number 12.
Ooh.
And we'll sample that when we do that list. So that'll be a couple of weeks away.
So remember when you said, like, I was being mean when I malorted you. This is what you're about to do to me. You're about to proper 12 me.
You might want to bring a good whiskey that we can use to kind of like balance the show out a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of malorting me, you brought a mystery beverage today.
I did bring a mystery beverage.
And I'm always a little worried when you bring the mystery beverage.
Well,
So,
look. You always think that I'm going to bring you something bad, and that being said, there's a couple times that it's funny like that.
Yes. Well,
so let me start this one off by saying, in very few words.
Oh, great.
You know, if there's one thing I've learned about you is that he lost that trust a long time ago, and it's taken a long time to build that back up.
That's right. So don't squander that.
You malort somebody once.
Yeah. Well, it's like our former president George W. Bush once said, "Malort me once, shame on you.
That's right.
Malort me twice, fool me, don't get fooled again."
That's right.
One of my favorite George Bush quotes that I altered
So
slightly.
so tell me what you think about this.
All right. Well, first of all, for those who are new to the show, and by the way, we do have some people who are new to the show because we want to welcome.
Ooh, this is exciting.
Our newest Smokin' Toastin' affiliate in Burley, Idaho. It's KBAR News Talk, KBAR 1230 AM. So we salute you. Welcome to the program. And they're doing something. They only had their time slot for the show of an hour. So they will only get the first hour of the show. So if you're listening in Burley, Idaho, you can hear the rest of the show just by going to any of the podcast sites or to YouTube and check
Absolutely.
it out. But anyway, for those of you who are new, Mystery Beverage is something we do from time to time where one of us will bring something in, pour it without telling anybody else what it is, and then we will comment on it before we learn the idea of the mystery beverage.
So I want to point out that one of the last mystery beverages I brought in smelled so bad that you wouldn't even taste it.
Yes, and again, it gets back to this trust issue that we had. Yes, but this one actually smells good. It's got
The best part is you didn't even get it to your nose. It was sitting on the table.
Oh
in
yeah,
front
I
of
refused.
us.
I refused. Come on, I have a little bit of dignity and self-worth.
So at least this one you're bringing up to your nose to smell.
Remember, this is the guy who bought all of the malt liquors for the malt liquor show that we did about a year and a half ago.
Don't say I never dropped you off to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you did. In fact,
I dropped you. Like I was gonna put that all in a gift basket and make it all pretty so that you'd look awesome going up the elevator at your place. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see what you think of what's going on here.
Actually, I don't hate it, and I phrase it that way because I sort of expected to, given your track record. But no, it's kind of refreshing and light, and I don't think it's carbonated, but I don't think it's a seltzer, is it?
It's not a seltzer.
Seems like maybe it's a canned cocktail of some sort.
Smells like something, tastes not
Here's
like
the
much.
interesting thing. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for the reveal?
Yeah, go for it.
It's not even alcoholic.
No kidding.
This is a
I've
zero
actually
alcohol.
seen this.
This is Lagunitas Hoppy Refresher Sparkling Water.
All right, it is a little hoppy, but not overly so, but enough to give it some taste, some flavor.
It's bizarrely pleasant, isn't it?
It really is. I kind of could dig some of this if I was, the designated driver or
Yeah, so my wife picked this up. She's like, I tried it at a place and it was really pretty good. So she picked this up. I was like, I got to take one of those on the show.
So I'm going to tell you that every week when I go to look for different stuff for us to talk about on the show, there are always one or two articles that I come across about how the big trend right now is alcohol-free, whether it's spirits or beer or something like this, hoppy water. This is considered to be one of the big growth areas for breweries and distilleries. But most of what I've tasted, I'm not real crazy about. This is pretty good.
So I like the sparkling waters. I like the sparkling waters that have a little bit of flavor, like a Topo Chico with lime or
Totally.
like the LaCroix, those kind of things. I like those. This is like a slightly beer flavored LaCroix.
And I think that's kind of a cool idea.
It's pretty good, actually.
It's kind of a cool idea.
It doesn't really taste like beer, but it has that hoppiness, little tiny hoppy kick.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like beer water. That's what they call.
This is a sparkling water with a little bit of that hoppy flavor in it.
Beer water is called Michelob Ultra. This is actually way more delicious than a Michelob Ultra.
I agree. Because it's also more honest. Mm-hmm. It's what it is. But I
gotta
thought
tell you,
this would be fun to bring in because
this.
it really is kind of a refreshing drink.
So on the level of my trust in Ian bringing in mystery beverages, we've just ticked up one notch. Because this is definitely worth.
It's only taken me 3 years. I said "tooken." Geez, where's my?
How long ago did you first malort me?
Oh, that was like 3 years ago.
Was it
maybe
really that
4?
long? It's still etched in my memory, so I can't quite get it out. But
after all the good things I've done,
You
like
know,
I get one notch up.
That's the thing, is the time that it takes to restore trust. It's different. It's not
It's
exactly the
exponentially
same.
longer than the time that it takes to destroy it.
100%. So I will tell you that if you are one of our new listeners in Burley, Idaho, and you're only getting the first hour of the show, you really do miss out on the most popular segment on our program. And I don't know how to break it to you, but you won't be able to hear Drinking News. And Drinking News is the segment on the show where we bring you a story from the news. It very often, but not always, is about drinking, but it's always probably best listened to when you've been drinking.
Oh, yeah. The discussions once you've been drinking about drinking news are much better than the discussions before you've been drinking.
So that's one of the reasons we put it in the latter half of the show, is because we want to have been drinking by the time that we get there, right?
We try to keep it real.
Yeah, that's right. We're nothing if not honest about where we come from. Today's Drinking News teaser headline: Dream a little dream of me. Was that different than what you usually do?
Yeah, I accidentally hit the second string there at the beginning of that.
I liked it, though. It was good. And that makes me... Was it Bugs Bunny that used to go, "Good evening, friends"? That's what it reminds me of. Oh, wow. I just dated myself real seriously right there.
Sorry, I was getting bluesy there.
Yeah, you were getting a little bluesy, and I kind of liked it. Shreveport, Louisiana City Council has overruled the smoking ban in their casinos, which is probably really smart because, if you're ever at one of those casinos where they have a segmented room that's their non-smoking room, and you always notice it's really empty.
Yeah.
People just seem to go in the bigger rooms. I don't know what it is. But one of the greatest things ever is sitting in a lounge inside a casino, hearing all the sound, the chirping noises of the slot machines and people rolling dice and getting excited at the craps table, and just sitting there and enjoying a really nice beverage and a really good cigar. That's one of my favorite things.
No, the people
ever.
watching is
it's
fantastic.
just wonderful. And if you're going to sit and feed all of your paycheck into the penny slots, it's good to at least enjoy a cigar while you're doing it.
It takes so it actually maximizes your time there because you have to stop, you have to take a sip of whatever beverage you have, then you have to take a puff on your cigar.
Yeah.
Consider what you're doing. Consider how much you're going to bet, and then you bet.
And it's good to do that because it means you're not betting as fast, so you
That's what
lose
I'm
your
saying,
money
yeah.
slower.
That's right.
That's what it amounts to.
It's a slow trickle instead of a fast one.
I like it.
Because no one wants to lose all their money on the first few bets and then just sit around bored.
That sucks. Now, see, the ideal casino visit, of course, would be to win all the time, but that doesn't happen.
No.
So if barring that, it's good to win early. Because then it's like you're playing with house money, right? You're getting to continue to play the rest of the time that you're there, but it's not necessarily going to the machine and taking a draw against your credit card for cash because they only charge you 48% to do that. So, all right, we're gonna take a break and come back. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, and we want to get to this list of distilleries that you must visit before you die. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. I love that funky sound. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian. Terry on the wheels of steel.
Those guys are crazy.
Adam in the sky, our executive producer. Thanks to everybody who makes the show go. And welcome to show number 335. Pretty cool. Time to take a dive into our little email bag.
Oh,
You ready?
you know what time it is then?
Yes, sir.
It's cruise. Oh, I'm in the wrong key, huh? Let me figure out. Me. Cruise and Ian's email bag. A way for listeners to share the thoughts they've had. It's an easy thing to do on your iPad or your phone. st@rfcmedia.com. One more. st@rfcmedia.com.
And that is how you reach us, by the way. st@rfcmedia.com. Cheers, y'all. All right. First email today comes from Tom, TK4000. He signs, and he says, "Hey, guys, my name is Tom, and I live in Connecticut. I love your show, and I've been listening since episode 302. Very specific, so we appreciate that. In my house," he says, "I've made my basement into a man cave with a serious TV on the wall and comfy leather chairs. I love to watch basketball games and movies while I enjoy a cigar, but the air filter I bought doesn't seem to do a very good job of making the room less smoky. I promised my wife I would look for a better one. Do you have any suggestions?" And I do, but first of all,
I do too.
Yeah?
Rabbit air.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I have one. Now, in fairness, I don't smoke inside my apartment. We're not supposed to in my building, and you know, it would. I'm sure that it would do a pretty good job, but probably not a 1,000%.
Right.
But what I do is I have a tendency to smoke on the balcony, and you know, there's always some smoke that's going to come in through the door when you open and close it, and it just wipes that out. I mean, there's no.
I mean, because you're not even letting it work very hard at that point in time.
I've probably owned 3 or 4 different filters. I'll never buy another one other than a Rabbit Air. It's so good at actually removing smoke. It's good for other stuff too, you know, pet dander and that type of stuff. You know, but I recommend it, and it's not horribly expensive.
We ran into them at the Big Smoke when we went. Was that 2018, I think? And they were so nice, and they asked me, they were like, "Do I have a Rabbit Air? What do I think of it?" I was like, "I don't know. You're gonna have to give me one to prove it." They never did it,
yeah.
but you have one, and
I
that
do
thing
have one.
obviously you've been working. But every place I go that has the Rabbit Air, especially in the smaller rooms, they're so good at those small room things.
They really are. So that's from TK4000. Thanks, Tom, for your email.
And they're small enough too, whereas if you needed multiple, you could.
Yep. Kevin writes, "Hello, Smokin' and Toastin'. I heard you guys mention that you give relationship advice, which we do. So I thought I would give you a shot. Can't seem to find a good answer to this question anywhere. My girlfriend of a couple of years doesn't like me smoking cigars. She doesn't like the smell and gives me a rash of..." I'm going to use the word crap. He used a different word. But,
okay.
A rash of crap anytime I have one. She's been badgering me to give them up lately, and the newest development is that she wants me to move in with her. I really like her, but I don't want to give up cigars. Any suggestions, Kevin?
Oh, she has to move in with you then. Well, unless her place is that much nicer.
I'm reminded of a famous quote from Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Mark Twain once said, "If there are no cigars in heaven, I think that I shall not go." If Mark Twain was willing to give up on heaven, I say you give up on this chick and find somebody else. There's my dating advice for Smoking and Toasting. We got to take a break. And anything else you want to add before we go to break? Okay, I didn't mean to supersede you there.
You're all good.
Yeah, you were taking such a diplomatic route. Well, maybe she should move in with you. Yeah, no. Kick her to the curb, I says. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting.
Well done, sir.
Sound.
Wait, there's more.
Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And one of the things we try to do on this show that we started doing really because we had to, because every now and then Ian will say something that won't be correct. And so we have to do corrections when we know that we have messed something up. And so because we started that fine tradition, I need to correct myself now. But I was referring to Jill Root, who is with St. Arnold, as Jill Rook. I apologize, Jill. People mess up my name all the time, so I don't think too much about it. But anyway, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Welcome back to the show, Ian. As you're pouring our Brooklyn what is this? It's a Brooklyn Lager. Their Amber Lager from Brooklyn Brewing. It occurs to me that I usually in the first segment I ask you about a cigar that you've had this week, and I have not done so yet on the program. I'm going to assume, what with all the holidays we've had and all of that you have had time to smoke a cigar that you might be able to share something about it with us.
It's funny you should ask.
Yes.
Because today I went into Casa de Monte Cristo. As I do because it's right around the corner from the studio, and the guys over there are so nice. Or I guess it's known as Serious Cigars by Casa de Monte Cristo.
Yeah. Or Casa de Monte Cristo by Serious Cigars.
Either
or
one.
something like that.
Either one. It used to be Serious Cigars. Now
yeah.
it's Casa de Monte Cristo.
And it's still pretty serious.
And everyone over there is super nice. Anyway, I went in there and I was looking at the new stuff that's in, because sometimes you got to look at the new shinies. And they had a new shiny in there.
Ah, what'd you smoke?
And boy, was it expensive.
Uh-oh.
So you've heard about this one, too. This is the EPC Pledge of Allegiance we talked about.
I have heard about it, yes. This wasn't the one with gold, though. That's the one you're going to buy me for Christmas.
On the EPC page, this is a
Believe
bold, harmonious fusion of flavors which celebrates patriotic love for their adopted homeland and honors the pursuit of the American dream. The 1,776 boxes is how many they released.
I thought you were going to say $1,700.
1,776 boxes made to commemorate the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, cool.
Include 10 cigars in each box that have a USA wrapper, Ecuadorian Connecticut seed binder, and USA, Dominican, and Nicaraguan filters. This is the
Fun.
first cigar that they've done that has two USA tobaccos in it.
Interesting.
So I grabbed it. This is a beautiful cigar. This is a 6x54 Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Ecuadorian grown Connecticut seed binder, fillers from the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and the United States. The appearance, dark chocolate in color. Only 25% of the wrapper is visible under 3 bands that they have on there.
Yeah.
You can only see the very end of the cigar.
They looked at Rocky Patel's latest cigars and they went, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do it bigger. My labels are bigger. And so it has the EPC band, the Pledge of Allegiance band, and then a black sleeve that covers about 40% of the cigar. And then they have, let's see, without the sleeve, the wrapper is somewhat rustic and wrinkly.
It's a little surprising
had
for
wrinkles in there.
Yeah.
Veiny, very oily, and the box press was firm overall. The pre-light sniff on this, I got barnyard and roasted coffee, chocolate, and earth right off the foot and around the cigar. The pre-light draw. By the way, look at this picture here. This is the perfect punch.
Right there? Yeah.
Right here.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the punch on this doesn't get much better than that. So I used a punch, and it had a very gentle draw to it. I got tons of dark fruit, mocha, and a kiss of coffee on it. The initial light on this, chocolate and sweet coffee, just tons of it. Touch of white pepper and cayenne in the background. Earthy and woody notes underneath. The retrohale is sweet, woody, with a touch of pepper. That's a lot going on for an initial light.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's complex.
Yeah, for sure.
And the first, because a lot of times the first, half inch to 3/4 of an inch of a cigar.
You get mostly pepper or mostly leather or
earth. Before it settles in.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Moving into the first third of this cigar, sweet and woody notes are a bit overwhelming at first. However, once my palate has a moment to adjust, the flavors begin to appear in a complex bouquet of recognizable notes, including chocolate. Yeah, right?
I like that. Poetic.
Including chocolate, coffee, leather, earth, dark fruit, oak, toast, brownie batter, and gentle pepper.
There you go.
And a lingering hint of cayenne just in the background. The flavor on the lips is tangy leather and fresh cut lumber. This cigar, like every bit of this cigar, it felt great in the hand. It it left this great flavor on the lips, and then the smoke is massive and dense. Like it's one of those where when you take a puff of smoke, it's like just this cloud of dense smoke. It's fantastic.
Love it.
Lending itself to pleasurable slow retrohale and smoke rings. The retrohale is sweet coffee and oak, and it's such a gentle retrohale that even if you're not used to doing that, like some people get a little burn in the nose when they do a retrohale, I don't think this one would do that at all. This is such a sweet, delicious flavor on it. Solid ash razor-like burn.
Nice.
I mean, it burned.
Picarillo getting it done.
Yeah, the second third of the cigar, spicy notes move forward and tantalize the tip of the tongue. Brownie batter and sweet fruity flavors are in perfect balance with the spicier tones. The aftertaste is sweet wood and nutty flavors with a touch of white pepper. The retrohale is sweet wood and gentle pepper. Solid ash, perfect burn. The last third of this, tangy leather and sweet dark fruit weave throughout, while chocolate, coffee, gritty, sweet brownie batter, and leather hold down the foundation. Nutty and toasty undertones are constant. The retrohale is sweet and wood and pepper. Solid ash, good burn. I'm going to say that this thing was coming in between the beginning and the middle of medium, maybe right at medium. But man, do not be afraid of this cigar if you're not afraid to spend the money. This is a $20 cigar. $20.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is.
That's 3 of some good cigars.
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
I give it a price to quality 5. This is exactly
That's solid.
what a $20 cigar should smoke like. This is in the same realm as an Alma Fuerte.
So you weren't disappointed at the $20 you spent?
Not at all.
Based on what this cigar smoked like.
That was a fantastic $20.
I love it.
That was paying a little more for the better ride. I mean,
I get it.
Really was
it's like
fantastic.
Getting the. You ever get the like the extra Uber? Like instead of just the regular
the
Uber,
Uber
the
XL?
one where they bring you, like the XL, or where it's somebody's really cool car. You know, guy shows up in a Corvette or something and takes you to where you're going. Yeah, I dig it. You poured for us, and I've been sitting here like trying to resist the urge to drink before we get there. This is Brooklyn Brewery's Amber. It is their Amber Lager, and it is Brooklyn Lager. It's an Amber Lager. Love this brewery. Have you had any chance? I'm going to tell you what I smoked, but first of all, I want to see what you think about this.
This is the lager that changed the world. Our dry hopped Amber Lager was born in Brooklyn and is crafted to be as bold as it is inviting.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor notes on this are bold, toasty, and iconic. It's pretty damn good.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's maybe a cut above a lot of the. We've had some really good lagers and pilsners over this last year, as so many more breweries have been, working to develop.
This
new
one's
beers
been
in that
out for a
style.
long time. It's funny because there's so many good ones coming out, but this one's been out for a long time. And sometimes you don't realize what you have until you go back and taste it against what's out there now.
Would you go so far as to say this might be the standard against which the others?
This is pretty amazing for a lager.
It really is. Really is.
And lager's not always what I go for because lagers don't always have a ton of flavor, but this has
a lot of flavor.
Great flavor going on.
But it's still got that crispness that you kind of want in it. And
malty roundness and then balanced with the crisp hop on the end that just like finishes it.
And I don't know where you guys live, but Ian and Terry and I all live in Houston, and it's freaking hot. I mean, it is like 100 degrees outside today. And something like this on a hot day, I mean, I know you will float down the river drinking a barley wine.
That's
but
true.
Not everyone is wired that way. A lot of people want something really refreshing and crisp. And this fills that bill without becoming, I mean, this is what, like, the people who make Bud Light and Miller Lite should drink this and be embarrassed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They should wonder
because
what the hell.
this is what
What
a
the hell
lager
they
is
do
supposed
in
to
their
taste
lives.
like. Yeah, right. What went wrong? Was it your guidance counselor? What went wrong? Anyway, that's really good.
And you know what
really
they'd say?
good.
Well, that's a Pilsner.
Yeah, okay, fine.
That's what they'd say.
I also had an expensive cigar this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I smoked a Cohiba Riviera Toro. Now, Cohiba is undoubtedly the best-known brand of Cuban cigars, and the non-Cuban Cohiba, which is owned by General Cigar, is known really for two things. They're known for being pretty consistently good and pretty consistently pricey.
Consistently expensive, yes.
Yeah, exactly. At the suggestion of Paul Nuss, though, when we were out at Cigars International in Conroe last week, I picked up a Cohiba Riviera Toro. It's new, and that's what I want to talk about this week. The Cohiba Riviera is the first box-pressed Cohiba ever, and it's also the first to ever use a Mexican San Andres wrapper.
Oh wow!
So kind of a groundbreaking,
it's a departure,
groundbreaking thing for them. It was blended and rolled at General Cigars factory in Esteli, using Nicaraguan and Honduran tobacco for the binder and filler. It's a bit longer than a lot of Toros, coming in at 6.5 by 52. I used a punch and checked out the pre-light aromas. Nice, rich tobacco notes, tea leaf, and a hint of leather. I fired it up and I waited to see if I would get anything resembling the Nicaraguan pepper blast.
The NPB.
But although it was nice and full at the very beginning, I'd stopped short of calling it a blast. It was a little gentler than that. The Riviera did settle in pretty quickly, though, with leather and coffee bean notes dominating the first third. I picked up a hint of dried fruit and a little bit of oakiness as well. Second third was where I really started to enjoy the Riviera. The flavor profile held on to leather and coffee bean, but a dark chocolate flavor started to weave its way into the mix as well, which combined very nicely with what I was already getting. I also got a little bit of a pepper tang on the tongue, which I really liked. And I'm going to use a description here that's a little hard to quantify. All right?
It's funny you say all this. I want to pause you for that. It's funny you say all this because generally speaking, Cohibas, their like most notable flavors, the earthiness of them.
Correct.
You know, that is
Correct.
like so you're getting a lot of flavors that you don't normally get.
Absolutely. And this description I want to use that's a little hard to quantify, but I'm going to try this anyway. As I smoked my way through the second third, it struck me that the Riviera tasted expensive.
Huh.
Does that make sense? I really had the sense that I was smoking a super premium, that there was a luxuriousness to it, if I can put it that way. Now, listen, I'm not even suggesting that it's not expensive.
Right.
Because it is. In fact, I knew how much I paid for it before I lit it up. So maybe that influenced me, mentally in terms of what I was getting out of it. But somewhere in that second third, it really hit me that something about the experience made me feel very much like I was smoking an expensive and, by extension, a luxurious cigar.
Nice.
Final third was really wonderful. Leather, oak, black pepper, coffee bean, and a hint of raspberry, believe it or not, all rounded out by a creamy finish and a very mellow retrohale. Medium to full-bodied, zero construction issues. No doubt about it. This was a great cigar, which is why I can't give it a price-to-quality score.
What?
I'm conflicted. The Cohiba Riviera Toro is about a $22 cigar.
Yeah.
Was I disappointed by what I got for my $22? No. The answer is no. I really was struck by the feeling that I was smoking an expensive, luxurious cigar, and in that sense, it paid off. But when I compare it to other cigars I like, it's tough. Was it really twice or almost 3 times better than an A.J. Fernandez Bella Artez Maduro or an Oliva Serie V Melanio? Sorry, I can't say that. It was good, but here's the thing. I'm going to give it a conditional recommendation. If you're in the mood to splurge for an expensive cigar and you want one that's going to deliver an experience that a $22 smoke should, the Cohiba Riviera Toro is a great way to go. Construction was great, flavors and complexity delivered, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. If you're budget conscious and you want to get the best bang for your $22, pick up 3 Nica Libre Torpedoes or 2 Rocky Patel Disciples or any number of the cigars that we reviewed on the show that punch at or above their weight class and are under $10. So price to quality, solid 5 or a 3. Depends on whether it's payday.
So if you're comparing it,
depends on whether it's payday or not. Right?
yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying. Like, so I kind of struggle with that with my $20 cigars today as well. But here's the thing.
But I wasn't disappointed.
I like to think of that as a different level. Like I'm going into it at a different luxury level and thinking this is something that you're going to spend the money on. You're just going to go a little outside.
Yeah.
And to me, is it worth that for the moment? And try not to compare it to a bunch of other things.
But it's hard because I'm cheap.
difficult.
I'm cheap, and I think I could have had 3 Nica Libres for this. So anyway, but yes, it was. I in the moment, it was totally worth it, and I would buy it again. I mean, just for that kind of experience.
I'll tell you right now, an Alma Fuerte is $22,
and it's worth every penny.
And every time I spend that $22, I'm fine with it.
I agree. I agree.
So I don't know.
Very cool. Speaking of very cool, you poured me a little more of this Brooklyn amber lager.
I did.
Wow, this is good stuff.
It's good.
It's really good. I'm going to give this the highest lager recommendation that I can give as we go to break, and we will be back. We have more to taste and more to talk about, including, we haven't even got to our topics today, distilleries you must visit before you die. And the best whiskey bars in the United States. We'll get to some of that when we come back at Smoking and Toasting. That was nice, by the way. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome to our newest affiliate, News Talk KBAR, 1230 a.m. in Burley, Idaho. I don't know a lot about Burley, but I intend to learn more. Seems like a pretty cool little city. So
I mean, if they got us on the radio, come on.
Yeah, come on. You got to love it. I wanted to mention, Ian's pouring our next beer that we want to taste here, and this is Harpoon's. What is it exactly?
The Summer Style New England Blonde Ale,
Okay.
hazy and crushable.
All right, so here's. I have to give Harpoon a lot of props.
And an almost impossible to read white background,
Yeah, I
white
noticed that.
letters on yellow.
It looks like they left it outside and it faded.
5.6%. Yeah, it looks like an old swimsuit or something.
So I have to credit Harpoon, though. When years ago, I lived in Houston. I moved from Houston to Boston. And in Houston, I had first started, moving away from macro beers, thanks largely to two beers, Shiner Bock, and to the amber that they make at St. Arnold, both Texas breweries. In fact, at that time, and I think it's still pretty much this way, if you're in a bar in Texas, there's a good chance they've got Shiner Bock, either on tap or available. It's just kind of become that cool beer that college kids buy.
Well,
and
what's
stuff
funny
like that, right?
too is it becomes so ubiquitous that people diss on it and they don't realize they're dissing on one of the best beers they can get out there.
Really is an amazing beer.
Yeah.
So I was drinking Shiner Bock and I moved to Boston. And in Boston, I became aware of the beer that's kind of everywhere there, the way that Shiner Bock is everywhere in bars in Texas. And it's Harpoon, which is they have a brewery in Boston and a brewery in Vermont. And they make an IPA that is it's really what caused me to fall in love with craft beer. That IPA was so good and so delicious. It just kind of like opened my palate.
It's not over the top of anything, but it's so incredibly good and balanced.
And I've since found other IPAs that I like even better. But still, I will never turn down a Harpoon IPA.
Right.
That was it's kind of like your first girlfriend. It has that vibe to it.
Shiner Bock was that little place for me.
Sure. Yeah. For sure. When I got up there, you could find Shiner Bock, but not as easily. But you could find Harpoon IPA everywhere. And so I fell in love with Harpoon and then started tasting all of their beers. And I loved their summer beer. This is a different summer beer. They've retired the old one. So now it'll be interesting to see what this one is like. You mentioned
this
that it says
Summer
it's hazy.
Style is what it says. It says hazy and crushable.
Yeah.
It says dry hopped with a blend of modern German and traditional noble hops. And I love noble hops. Noble hops are so good.
I don't get a lot on the nose, so let's see what the taste is like.
It's got this real clean kind of refreshing nose to it. It has a little bit of that hop snap.
That comes off to me a little bit lighter than the first beer we had, the Brooklyn Lager.
Agreed.
A little bit lighter, but it says it's crushable. It's very crushable.
It's quite drinkable.
Yeah, got good flavor to it, though. It's light and a thinner mouthfeel, but it's not lacking in flavor.
No, if you like a very crispy upfront beer, like this is almost unbalanced towards hoppy.
It finishes a little hoppy.
It finishes very hoppy, crispy,
but
there's not a lot of malt profile up front. But there is, like, kind of in the retrohale after a sip, there is a little bit of malt sweetness that you get.
What did you say the hops was they use on this?
The noble hops.
Noble. See,
it says modern German and traditional noble hops.
Yeah.
So
it does have a little bit of that German hop flavor to it.
Inspired by the classic Keller Kolsch, one of the original hoppy hazy beers.
And interestingly, the original Harpoon Summer was also a Kolsch. So that's very interesting too. So I recommend this. I like it very much.
Leaves a little bit of astringency on the tongue. Kind of leaves you wanting that next sip.
We call that the Doritos effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming in.
Sure.
What is the ABV on this? I'm not seeing.
I'm not sure. Does it say there? I'm not sure what it is.
See.
Feels like it's more like a 4 to 5% at the most.
Oh no, I said it earlier. 5.6.
5.6.
It's in that white lettering on a yellow background.
I'm glad
that's
you can read it
impossible to
because I
read.
can't. I have to put on my readers to do that. I just wanted to mention, by the way, our newest affiliate, News Talk KBAR 1230 AM in Burley, Idaho. They are only broadcasting the first hour of the show. So to our listeners in Burley, we say thank you for listening.
You.
And if we want to hear drinking news and the rest of what we're going to talk about on the show, we got another full hour coming.
You want to hear drinking news?
Yeah, you got another full hour coming. So you can find it on our podcast, which can be found anywhere that podcasts are delivered. Just look for Smokin'. That's with an apostrophe, and Toastin', also with an apostrophe. And you should be able to find it at all the places, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And
where all fine podcasts are
or
casted.
or YouTube. Yeah.
Or YouTube. Yeah, if you want to see us.
Was it just saying the Bible about casting your pod upon the waters?
Your pod.
Is that a Bible verse? I don't remember. I didn't pay a lot of attention in Sunday school. We are going to be back with the second hour of the show. To those of you who are leaving us now, cheers, y'all. And to those of you who are staying with us, thanks. And we got good stuff coming on Smoking and Toasting. Yeah, welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Now, this is a small bottle. I don't know what kind of a sound that's going to make. Ooh, that was nice. That was
I
very
couldn't
nice.
get the scrunchy sounds when I was turning it.
So we're going to be trying this tequila. This is one that was given to me by our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez, and it is an Toro Tequila Reposado. So I'm looking forward to trying this because, she doesn't steer you wrong. You know what I'm saying? Did you have trouble pouring it? Oh, no, there's only so much. I get
There's just a very small amount
It's a small bottle. All right. So while you're pouring there, let me tell you about some cigars to watch for. Partagas is debuting their first cigar made with a Mexican wrapper. Everybody is doing the San Andres wrapper these days.
Man, the Mexican San Andreas is such a good wrapper.
It really is. The non-Cuban version of the Partagas brand has been around for decades. It launched in the U.S. market in 1977. And over the past 46 years, Partagas cigars have come in many styles, but their new line called Valle Verde marks a first for the brand as it's rolled with a cover leaf from Mexico. Valle Verde is actually Spanish for, and I'm actually going to give you the translation, Green Valley. I couldn't come up if it was.
Actually, it's Valley Green, but go ahead.
But that's how it translates out. Yes, correct. But see, you do know Spanish.
I know two Spanish.
Anyway, it's a growing region that borders the Gulf of Mexico and features a comparatively cool climate, a lengthy rainy season, and rich volcanic soil. And this has just shipped to retailers. It's going to be available in 3 regular production sizes, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Dubbel Corona. Prices will range from $7.50 to $9.50 in terms of the suggested retail. So should be very interesting. Oh, there's also going to be a limited release 4th size, a Bellicoso, that is going to be $9.99. So all sizes ship in 20-count boxes, so look for that. And just in time for my inner tube floating on vacation next week, Aganorsa Leaf is releasing the JFR Lunatic Bellicoso Maduro, a cigar with a thickness of ring gauge 100.
I am so all over that. That's the most obnoxious thing I've ever heard.
Although no one is sure how they're going to actually clip the cigar.
So I bought a cigar clip that says it clips up to an 80 ring gauge. I'm sure we just have to stuff it on there.
And try your best, right?
Also, I have a bandsaw.
Yeah.
I'll work this out.
It's a 10-inch by 100 ring gauge cigar. It's all Nicaraguan, save for a dark Mexican
Did you ever
San
see
Andres
Samurai Chef?
Yes. That's totally true. It's gigantic, and it's blended to be medium to full body. It won't be sold in traditional boxes, but rather in single wooden coffins with a suggested retail price of $39.99 each. But that would do
That's
your
funny
whole...
because their other cigars, their 8x80 is $9
Yeah,
or something
I know.
like
this,
that.
well, this one's, you got to think this
That's
one took
outrageous.
a very special roller
Yeah,
to put
that's
this bad boy
outrageous.
together. Yeah, it is of course Aganorsa's biggest cigar yet, and they're limiting it to only 2,500 cigars. So you may have to.
I'm gonna have to get one.
Call the boys down at
Or four.
Casa and tell them to hold on to a couple of them for you. The Bellicoso Maduro actually ships at the end of July, so it'll be a little too late for my inner tubing expedition, but maybe for yours.
Just a piece of advice, by the way.
Yeah?
Don't go rent a tube.
Don't go rent a tube.
No.
Oh, no.
Go buy Academy and buy a tube because
Yeah.
it'll have the little headrest on it.
Yeah,
You're gonna want that.
We totally bought tubes, so we're
Yeah.
we're gonna be good to go. And Fierro Tego, the company that revived the Timeless line after the cigar-hating Nat Sherman Company collapsed,
And they did a good job.
has just shipped a new line called Suma, which is the first Fierro Tego flagship brand in regular production. Previous cigars that carried the Fierro Tego name, the Elegancia and the Generoso, were annual limited editions. So this one is made by the Quesada family in the Dominican Republic. They know what they're doing. Fierro Tego Suma will be on display at this year's PCA trade show. The word Suma means a comprehensive work or a summary or a synthesis of a body of work thus far. So the company stated that this is a blend that embodies the diversity and complexity of the Fierro Tego portfolio. It's a 3-country blend, Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, atop an Ecuadorian Sumatra seed binder, and a mix of Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. The cigars are going to be full-bodied, and they come in Corona Gorda, Robusto, Torpedo, and Gordo. All sizes ship in boxes of 10 cigars apiece. So I'm definitely going to try that. I really appreciate that they rejuvenated the Timeless blend because that really was a good cigar.
Yes,
and
agreed.
And it would have been a shame to see it go by the wayside just because the people at Nat Sherman hate cigars. Or hated cigars. They're not around anymore. All right, we're drinking Tequila Reposado. This is the Aja Toro. What do you think? You've gone.
So
in and
this
done
is
some
funny.
research.
It has kind of a funky nose to it.
Yes, I agree.
It has kind of a funky nose, and I wasn't sure what to think at first, but it's also sweet and delicious.
Oh, it really is. The
And I
nose
don't know
is-
that I can give it that much more about it. It's sweet and delicious. It's got some vanilla. It's got a little bit of
Definitely has vanilla.
agave way forward. But the
Yeah.
nose is a little funky.
So generally with tequilas, the longer they age, the more they pick up notes of things like vanilla and maple and other sort of flavors, and you get a little less of the agave.
Well, look how light the color is on this.
Well,
too. It's
this you
incredibly light.
get lots of agave, but there's enough vanilla in there to keep it from tasting really young. You know.
Right, and it's not super peppery up front, but it does have kind of a peppery aftertaste, which is really interesting. So,
It's not like a Sauza, which is super peppery, but does have a little bit of peppery on the palate when you get through there. It's actually quite good. Very, very, very drinkable, and I would pair this with a cigar for sure. Usually, I look for tequilas that have more of those sort of maple or
woody kind of notes,
to pair with a cigar, but this I think would go very well, especially with something around medium bodied. I think that would work pretty darn well.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Actually, kind
Think
of.
Padron 1926.
Oh, dude,
those
how
kind
good
of
would
things.
that be? Yeah, how good would that be? This would go with the cigar that I had.
Like a
that I talked
Corojo
about.
leaf kind of thing is what makes me think a lot of times when I'm doing tequila.
Yeah, AJ Fernandez has a New World Corojo that would go. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the Cameroon. The Cameroon would go very
Cameroon's
well
nice.
with this. Go very well with this. So according to Mashed, which is a pretty cool website that has recipes and news and entertainment and stuff, they say there's no better way to experience whiskey than by drinking it straight from a distillery. Would you agree with that? I mean, you've been to a number of distilleries and had.
What do they mean by straight from the distillery? Like, does that mean you can't put a drop of water in it?
Well, I think what they're saying is rather than having it be bottled and shipped.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you're getting
maybe. I mean,
it's kind of like I can certainly say that with beer. There's
Yeah.
probably no better example of any beer style than from the tap at the brewery.
agreed, because beer needs to be drunk fresh.
Right.
Generally speaking. Now, it's not that you can't age certain beers and things like that, but generally speaking, beer is made to be drunk fresh. Whiskey's not. So I don't know. Like,
Well, one of the things they say in this article is that whether you drink single malt whiskey or Kentucky bourbon, it's more enriching experience to sip on the spirit while you learn about all of the effort that goes into making it.
That's way cooler. Yes, no, I
more
get
of a
that.
sensory experience.
But if you're talking about just the liquid itself, I don't know that it matters. But the surrounding experience does make a difference in your overall enjoyment of said product.
Agreed. So they list a number of distilleries because they feel like the distillery experience is the true whiskey experience, where all your senses are firing at the same time. And so they list a number of distilleries. I thought we'd go through them.
Man, if there was a distillery right around the corner from my house, I'd just go fire my senses all the time.
Well, if you're in Frankfort, Kentucky, the Buffalo Trace Distillery might be right around the corner from your house. Yeah. And they say that any whiskey lover should have Buffalo Trace's notable Frankfort Distillery on your list of places to visit.
Absolutely. And it's on my shelf.
They also mentioned the Chattanooga Whiskey Distillery in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They say the company in 2015 celebrated a very special occasion, becoming the first company to distill whiskey in Chattanooga in a century. So they actually operate two different distilleries, a riverfront and an experimental distillery. Now, I would love to go to the next one on the list. It's the Balvenie.
Oh, yeah.
In Dufftown, Scotland. They say that the Balvenie Distillery is an important Scottish landmark. It's located near the Balvenie Castle, which once hosted monarchs as guests, and Balvenie created the distillery just down the road. Production began there in 1893.
What do they know about whiskey?
Yeah, probably not. So if you're 18 or older, you can experience a 2.5-hour tour of the Balvenie, which sounds actually like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
St. Augustine Distillery in St. Augustine, Florida. It was an old ice plant turned into a whiskey distillery, established in 2013. They offer both self-guided and guided tours. I might need the guided. You know what I'm saying?
You start
by
off
the end of it, I may need
you start off
help.
self-guided, and then you're like, somebody, I'm lost.
Park City, Utah is home to the High West Distillery, which they list also as one that you must visit.
High West makes some good whiskey.
And if you're in Northern Ireland, you got to go to the Old Bushmills Distillery.
Yeah.
They say that this one is the oldest licensed distillery in the world. So that fact alone,
that's crazy
makes
cool.
it worth a visit from every whiskey lover. In Nova Scotia, in Cape Breton Island, there is the Glenora Distillery, I just love to go to Nova Scotia. It just sounds like a great place. I've never been. But that would be a really fun thing to do if you're there. In Louisville, Kentucky, they say visit the Rabbit Hole Distillery. The Rabbit Hole.
We've had some Rabbit Hole on here, and it was
pretty good stuff.
Good.
Yep. If you're in Dublin, the Jameson Distillery is a must.
Yeah.
Put that on your list and make sure you do it. I've never been to Ireland, and I would
I haven't either.
Really like to go.
100%.
In Frankfort, Kentucky.
We should make that a work trip.
I love that idea. Let's do it. Let's see if we can write it off on taxes somehow.
That's right.
In Frankfort, Kentucky is the Castle and Key Distillery. And what's interesting about Castle and Key is it's essentially two buildings side by side, and one of them is, in fact, a castle, or shaped like a castle, nice. which is pretty cool. The Shinsu Mars Distillery in Nagano, Japan is on this list. I am not familiar with that distillery, but I'd love to go. That's another
Japanese whiskey.
That's another road
Japanese
trip we should work on.
Great whiskey.
In Versailles, Kentucky, Woodford Reserve. Now, we love their whiskey, so that would be a very fun thing to do. In Breckenridge, Colorado, the Breckenridge Distillery is on the list. Makes sense. And just up the road from us a little ways, in Waco, Texas, they say you got to go to Balcones. And Balcones has really emerged as one of the leaders in Texas whiskey. We need to get them back on the show. We've had them on before.
Yeah, let's do that. As a matter of fact, let's get them back on the show, and we could drive up there.
I would do that.
And get a hotel because
we ain't driving home.
Balcones.
Yeah, because Balcones. In Kirkwall, Scotland, they say you got to go to Highland Park Distillery.
Ooh, yeah.
It's by far not an easy place to get to, they say. It's located in the remote islands of Orkney, once occupied by Vikings. but nowadays only 20 of the approximately 70 islands are inhabited due to the harsh weather conditions because they're nearly in the Arctic Circle. So it's like a great place for a distillery. Highland Walker and Sons Distillery in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. They say definitely worth visiting, and they've been around since 1857, which was before Canada was even a country.
Wow.
So you couldn't even blame Canada back then because it wasn't a country. In Tullamore Island, you must visit Tullamore Dew.
Yeah,
that almost goes without saying. In Louisville, Kentucky, Stitzel Weller is recommended to be visited, and in Gardner, New York, the Hudson Whiskey Distillery is also on the list.
Man, that Hudson 4-grain is so good.
And finally, in Ballinderloch, Scotland, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, they say you got to visit the Glenlivet. So that would be. Were you talking about a great work road trip? I'm down. I'm going to put a few of these on my bucket list, and hopefully once we get there, they'll have a bucket full of whiskey for me. That'll be awesome. We take a break. We're right back. It is Smokin' and Toastin', and thank you for listening. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian, there was a wine that used to have television commercials, and Orson Welles was in the commercial, and he would say, "We will sell no wine before it's time."
Oh, I remember that. Yes, I do. That was
do you remember
Ernest
what wine? Ernest and Julio Gallo. Yeah, which I have a feeling they have actually sold a few wines before their time. But it was a great slogan nonetheless, because it kind of points out that in the world of spirits and wine and beers and cigars as well, like most of the time when you're taking some kind of a shortcut, it probably isn't. Yeah, it probably isn't the best thing. And so I approached this next item that I read a review about on Wired with a bit of skepticism because it is called a MOBA Smart Barrel. And the MOBA Smart Barrel is a Wi-Fi enabled urn. And the concept behind it is you buy it, and then you buy a bottle of spirits, whiskey, tequila, rum, and you pour it in there, and after a week it spits out a barrel-aged version of your spirit. Yeah, I know. It's Wi-Fi enabled, and it's
Hold on.
yeah, it allows you to age your own whiskey or rum or whatnot.
My question is, what the heck does the Wi-Fi even have to do with it?
I'm not even completely sure, to be honest. But the idea is that you get to do your own aging all without the hassle of having to build a warehouse and
or wait 12 years
or full of hooch. Yeah,
8 years.
They take. They say these devices take up many forms: tiny barrels that look cool in your bar top, pieces of wood you drop into your bottle, and other type of gizmos that all resolve around rapidly exposing a spirit to oak. Now there's another high-tech option that you can add to the mix. It's Modern Barrel Company's MOBA Smart Barrel. It's a plug-in Wi-Fi enabled urn that ingests your bottle of booze and spits out a barrel-aged version after a week. So if you're familiar, they say, with the sorcery of commercial-scale accelerated aging operations like Lost Spirits, that's kind of what this does. They keep some of their tech close to the vest, but one of their founders who does this on the side and another professional chemist says it involves heat, oxygen, and wood, just like in a real barrel.
You know what works just like a real barrel?
Yeah, what?
A real barrel.
A real barrel, yeah. But, of course, that would take more time. The review, by the way, describes it as a cross between a pressure cooker and a pint-sized water heater. A small block of wood called an M-stack attaches to the end of a slim metal pole, which dangles into the center of a metal flask that you fill with your spirit. And then you seal it up, and you hit the power button, and the unit gently heats the wood and apparently agitates the spirit with vibration or some other type of movement. The thing comes in 5 types of M-stacks, all made from American white oak but treated differently before they're ready for use. So it was clearly designed for aging like Blanco tequila, they say, though the founders say they've tried it on everything from tequila to Southern Comfort and have had good results aging mezcal as well as Everclear and barreled cocktails like the Manhattan. So anyway, Wired tried it out and they were not super impressed. They took a bottle of Old Crow bourbon as an experiment in extra aging,
God.
and they described the whiskey as harmless enough, but could it be improved by a week in the MOBA with the sweet M stack? The aged Old Crow, he says he'd like to call it Older Crow, was darker in color. And a more aggressive wood influence on the nose and the palate, which says a good thing and a bad thing. It wasn't smoky, but the wood elements were quite heavy, drying, and tannic. So overall, they weren't that impressed by the MOBA. So before you plop down $399 for
I was going
one,
to say, hey, if it's ineffective or lackluster, at least it's expensive, right?
I was given as a gift one time a device that aerates your spirit. Which that actually works kind of well. It just brings some of the flavors. So you pour it into it, and then you let it pour into your glass or cup from the little aerator.
It could be a straw that you just put in there and blow.
Yeah, it works a little better than that, I think. But just put your lips together and blow. Was it Mae West said that? All right, we will take a break, and we will be back with, oh my goodness, it's time for drinking news. That's coming up next. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, our show, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I can't believe you're talking over that excellent guitar tone.
I felt like it was a little sharp. Was that just my ears, or was the guitar player a little sharp there? I don't know, man. We'll have to investigate. Ian, grab that ukulele.
Is it ukulele time?
Because it's time for drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, all. For today's installment of Drinking News, we're going to talk for a moment about dreams.
Ooh.
Now, not to get too scientific on you, but dreams are like crazy, man. I mean, seriously, we've all had that dream that seems so incredibly real that we could swear when we're in it that we're awake and amazing things are happening. I had a dream once that I went to bed with Salma Hayek, and she's just starting to get undressed when I hear cut, and I look around to see Mattress Mac with a camera, and I realize we're in some kind of crazy gallery furniture commercial, and then I turn to look back at Salma Hayek, and it isn't her, it's Miss Dubliak, one of my teachers from junior high school. And yes, I know I need professional help, and I realize that I may very well need to be medicated as well. I'm taking it a day at a time, so thanks for bearing with me. And by the way, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Mattress Mac is our local crazy TV furniture guy here in Houston.
He really will save you money.
Gallery Furniture is his store. Salma Hayek is one of the most beautiful women on the planet, and Mrs. Dubliak, my junior high school teacher, is, well, the opposite of that. In any case, according to the Sleep Health Foundation, many dreams are bizarre because a part of our brain actually shuts down. When we're awake, the front part of our brain controls how we make sense of the world. This shuts down during dreaming, and because of this, the dreaming brain puts together ideas that normally do not go together. So it's no surprise that sometimes we dream things that don't quite intersect.
Like when your socks don't fit and you realize they don't fit because they're bear claws.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And it doesn't quite intersect with the reality of what's going on around us. Exactly. Which brings us to the story of a man who would clearly be at home in Florida, but apparently actually resides in suburban Chicago instead and is facing firearm charges.
Chicago man.
The 62-year-old Chicago man was charged about 2 months after an incident where police were called to his home on a report of a person with a gunshot wound. When they arrived, deputies immediately applied a tourniquet to the man's leg where he had actually been shot and was losing a lot of blood. The Chicago man told investigators that he had a dream that someone was breaking into his home, and that during that dream, he retrieved his .357 Magnum revolver and shot at who he believed was the intruder, police said. In a news release, police said that when the man fired, he shot himself in the leg, which, as you might expect, caused him to wake up from the dream. Yeah.
That's a bad dream, man.
Investigators determined there was no burglary attempt at the man's home in the northwest Chicago suburb. So why was he ultimately arrested? Well, cops found out that his state firearm owner's identification card had been revoked, and that despite this, he was still in possession of a gun. Oops. Actually, double oops. It's bad enough to get arrested for having a gun illegally, but it's even worse if your aim in the dream is so bad that you try to fire at your dream burglar and you wind up shooting yourself in the leg. I'm just saying. So I did a little research online to see what it might actually mean if you shoot yourself in your dream. Many sites say it's due to underlying feelings of guilt, and that guilt manifesting itself in your dream causes you to, shoot yourself in that way of applying punishment to yourself. I would also add that if you happen to dream that you're a clown, like in the circus with red rubber nose and big floppy shoes.
Oh, yeah.
You most definitely should shoot yourself in the dream because clowns are evil, and the only way of wiping out this evil could be to take matters into your own hands.
I feel like you have a clown issue.
Of course, even if you dream that, don't shoot yourself in real life. That would be tragic. Unless, of course, you are actually a clown, in which case all bets are off. I'm just saying. I can't tell you that I'm sure all of this would hold up in court, but I can tell you that I absolutely believed it.
I mean, that poor clown in that Stephen King novel, people kept calling him It. No wonder he felt so alienated and wanted to turn evil.
So what you got out of that movie or that book is feeling bad for the freaking clown?
They were oppressing that clown.
Oh, my God.
They kept calling him It.
I don't know if I can be friends with you if you're a clown sympathizer. I'm just saying. I don't feel like this is. I feel like this might be the.
Did you just say clown sympathizer?
Yeah, that's the way you were presenting yourself as a clown sympathizer.
I'm just saying, you'd be angry too. Like if kids kept calling you It and you lived in a sewer, you'd be like, "Hey, man, just trying to get along."
The key phrase in what you just said here is "lived in a sewer." Okay, let's just go back.
There's a difference between bozo and It.
Yeah, and neither of them deserve
that
to live.
clown has a name in It, right? What is his name? I can't remember.
Beelzebubala, something.
I gotta say, if you don't have a I'm scared of clowns thing, and you see that clown, that is a terrifying looking clown.
And by the way, that is the Yiddish word for the devil is Beelzebubala.
Yes.
Yeah. So just. In case you were wondering. The Chicago man was booked and released after posting bail and is awaiting trial. So,
it's Pennywise.
Pennywise,
that's right.
Yes. And there's a punk band named Pennywise, too.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure took their name from the Stephen King book. Reporting live from Chicago, where I'm still trying to figure out where Salma Hayek went. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. That is pretty bad, though, if you have a dream that you're shooting somebody and you shoot yourself.
I'm not done yet.
That's actually pretty impressive. I gotta say, I was gonna be like, "What are you doing?" And then I was like, "No, actually, that was pretty good. That's actually pretty good." But that's gotta be. I mean, seriously, you have a dream that you're shooting someone and you shoot yourself in the leg.
Yourself.
Oh my God! I think they were a couple inches different. That could have been even more of a disaster.
Oh, no bueno.
Just saying. Yeah. So, anyway, there you go.
Also, let's say I like Texas because if I was to shoot myself in the leg, I wouldn't get arrested for it because guns.
Yeah, because it's all good. You have as many guns as you want.
Yes.
Yeah. Just go to your local Walmart and pick one up. Yeah. I'm still my favorite line about guns ever. And no matter what side of the gun safety debate you're on, you can appreciate this. Homer Simpson in The Simpsons goes to the store to buy a gun, and they tell him, "Okay, sir, fill this out, and you can pick up your gun in 7 days after the waiting period." And Homer says, 7 days? But I'm mad now.
That's so bad.
Yeah. All right. Ian has opened a rather revered bottle if you live where we live. The
that
Bishop's
sounds
Barrel
good.
bottles from St. Arnold, and they're not currently doing Bishop's Barrel, so this is an
No.
older one. And I hope they decide to continue this.
This was
So-
2020, I think. Is that when this came out?
Right. So the Divine Reserve.
This has been aging a bit.
Yeah. So the Divine Reserve beers were very special brews. They tried a number of different things. The Bishop's Barrel were all about aging things in wine barrels.
With our Bishop's Barrel series, we experiment with pairing our ales with a variety of different barrels, fruits, or whatever else may strike our fancy. These age in our barrel room anywhere from a few months to well over a year. This is the Sriracha Ace Dubbel. So Sriracha Ace is a hop
okay.
variation. This is the Sriracha Ace Dubbel, aged in red wine barrels with Brettanomyces and raspberries. So as soon as you hear Brettanomyces, you need to be thinking there's going to be a little sour going on.
There's going to be a little funk going on, too.
Yeah, it's going to be a little funky, a little sour, and this is both funky and sour. This is in the best way, and it is aged to a little more mellow than it used to be.
So I am picking up on the nose. I can get all of those elements that you talked about. I can get the red wine. I can get the Brettanomyces, the funk, and I can get a little...
Like raspberry seed.
Yeah, a little
kind of
touch
thing.
of that raspberry. Yep, very, very much so. I even had raspberry in the cigar I talked about today.
You did.
I'm on
You
kind
did
of
get
a
raspberry on the brain
kind of
today.
a raspberry kick here. So it's wonderful on the nose, and what
It's
do you think?
fruity and ridiculous is what it is. And it's just dang good beer.
Wasn't that the thing for Frosted Lucky Charms? Were they fruity and ridiculous? Was that what they were? Well, I think they were magically delicious. That's what it was.
magically delicious.
This is kind of magically delicious too, if you really want to know. You're right, Ian. This is a very fruity, and really delicious. I mean, you get the sense, kind of like what I talked about with my cigar. You just got the sense you were smoking something special, that it was kind of an ultra premium.
You
This-
just kind of can tell.
This gives you that feeling in terms of a beer.
It doesn't have an ABV on there, but I'm willing to bet that this is north of 9.
Mm-hmm.
A bit. Let's see. It does, no, it doesn't
What
say.
makes you say that? Well, no,
Because you can taste it's got a little boozy to it as well. A little bourgeois, if you will.
it's got okay. So I'm trying to distill
I
this.
said bourgeois. I didn't even get a chuckle. Come on.
No. Bourgeois. So this is no, but you get the fruit, the wine up front, the wine barrel aging up front, and then kind of in the middle you get the funk of the Brettanomyces, and then in the end it's just like this.
It's a tart and kind
Yes.
of a sharp finish to it, but in kind of a good way. Mm-hmm. And it leaves your mouth feeling like you just had that. Remember that gator gum you used to get?
Yes,
That
yes.
make your mouth just water like madness.
So
It really does. It leaves your saliva glands like going nuts.
So it's not like you can go and buy this anymore. This
No.
beer came out a few years back, and they're not even currently doing a current version of this. But I will say this is one of those things that if you're over at a friend's house and you're getting some out of his beer fridge and you see one of these Divine Reserves sitting in there, that's the time you pull it out and go, "Hey, can we drink this?"
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and this is the kind of thing too where drinking a whole bottle of this by yourself, it's a lot because there's a lot going on in this beer. I mean, it's a big beer, but frankly, like how nice is it to sit and like pour and do tasters where
Sure.
everyone could
It's
talk about
totally
it.
what it's about.
That's what when you get this style of beer, I feel like people think, oh, those big beers, can't drink one of those. Well, you don't have to, man. Drink half of one or drink a third of one and share it with people and talk about the flavors you get.
We talked about
That's
this
so much fun.
a couple of shows ago about how drinking these beers, drinking these spirits, smoking cigars is such a social thing. It's like
Yes.
that's how it's really meant to be enjoyed. And this beer is a perfect example of that. This beer is not best when you're sitting at home doing the whole bottle by yourself, even though it's a regular 12-ounce bottle. It's really meant to share. It's about tasting. Like, what do you get out of this? What are you picking up on? That's what the whole fabric of this show really is about. Is just drinking these things, tasting these things, talking about what we're getting from them.
Yeah.
And maybe because we drink a lot, that we can help you distill your thoughts so you don't buy a bunch of stuff you wouldn't
also
like.
notice like we don't for anybody new out there, we don't do a number rating system on our beers. We're not rating them at a certain number or anything like that. because what we just want you to like know what we think about them as we're drinking them and trying them.
For sure.
And there's been beers on this show that you really enjoy and I really don't.
And vice versa.
But you know, and then even our number rating system that we have for our cigars are basically price to quality more than anything.
And there's a much larger range of pricing in cigars than there is in beers. And certainly you can find the more expensive beers, and we have had a number of those on the show. But most of the beers we sample on this show are in a, $10 to
$10 to
$13,
$15
14,
for
15,
a
exactly.
6-pack, or
right.
4-pack.
So it's not like price is as big of a factor. If I really like a beer, I don't mind spending a couple of bucks more for it. But with cigars, sometimes you're talking about the difference between a $6 cigar and a $26 cigar, and that's worth talking about. I think this is delightful.
It's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just got such complexity to it, and
it's dry too. Like that aftertaste is dry,
big time. Super
like
Dorito
wine
effect going
style
on
dry.
here. No, and obviously that is a testament to the wine, and it's a testament to St. Arnold, who I really believe, although they do show up on some of the best brewery type lists, but these guys do not get enough credit outside of where we live here in Houston for how innovative they've been. I mean, every brewery's not doing these crazy, Bishop's Barrel and Divine
no, they did a whole
Reserve
series.
type
This is
things.
20. I think they did 23 of them.
I think they did, yeah.
Of these Bishop's barrels where they were just like, hey, let's just do crazy stuff with beer.
Yeah, and you can't forget about Divine Reserve and what a big
Divine
deal
Reserve,
that was.
yeah.
I feel like Divine Reserve is part of what pulled a lot of people in to being in love with craft beer in this area. People standing in line waiting for the release.
Well,
it added
an exclusivity to it. Like there were people who would stand in line for hours, to get their when it hit the liquor store.
Yeah, for sure.
The beer store.
All right, we're going to take a break. We got just a little bit more to do to wrap up the program, but we want to thank you for being with us this week. It is Smokin' and Toastin', show number 335, and we will be right back.
Dang it.
Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, all things that we really
I love
enjoy.
those things.
Yeah.
Again, I notice you talk as soon as the guitar player starts playing on that
Well,
last
there's
piece. I don't understand.
It's
the tone
important.
is so
it's
good.
important, really, to cover certain things. It's instinctive, really. Is the way that it works. Ian, this is a really exciting. It's a really exciting time for us here at Smokin' and Toastin' because now that we were talking about this a little bit during the break, now that the show is picking up affiliates for radio syndication, and now that we're on in various places, I think it lends a certain credibility to the show that, quite frankly, I don't think we really deserve. So I'm really excited about it.
Deserves got nothing to do with it.
There you go. I like it. I like it very much. This has been a really fun show, but next week will be a very different sort of program.
It's going to be very different.
Yes, because I will not be here. Ian will be hosting with a guest host.
Like if you were to think of us like along the lines of a production news station, like when me and you do the show, that's like the Dan Rather report. It's very serious and austere.
Yes,
next week's going to be
I'm so serious and austere.
Next week's going to be a
Totally
little like
following you.
Cheech and Chong.
Okay, good.
Not really. No. You're going to be out of town. You're going to be floating down the river. I'm actually really jealous about that.
A little bit more for Santa Claus. Yes, I will be floating down the river.
Floating down the river
with one of those gigantic cigars.
Dude, I want a picture.
And loving life. Absolutely loving life. No, it's honestly, it's a family reunion for my wife's family, and we are going to be on the river, and it's going to be, I'm going to do my very best to do absolutely nothing.
So
but
much
smoke
fun.
And drink.
So much fun.
And maybe, if I drink enough, a little karaoke.
So much fun.
Yeah. So
I'm going to have John Denman on the show. He's actually been on the show with me before.
Yes.
And he had a podcast called Drink of Ages that was around for a long time. And he's so fun. I have no idea what he's going to bring. I may get together with him this week just as an excuse to have a beer and see if we want to pre-talk through the show, or we might just come in and go right off the cuff.
Well, I hope that you do a really, really great job, because eventually I want to be able to cede the show to you guys, and I can just stay at home and drink.
Man, then I'd have to do more work. You see, you don't understand. Like, I love this show because I come in and just act surprised, because most of the time I am.
Most of the time.
You know,
most of the time.
Like my work part of this is like I don't even read the show notes, right?
Oh, wow.
Because I want to act like genuinely surprised about stuff.
All right, I get it. Well, there's some interesting stuff in the show notes. You might enjoy perusing them from time to time. No, that'll be next week's show, and then the week after.
Gonna be fun.
I'm serious. I'm buying some proper number 12, and we're gonna sample.
Oh, geez,
some proper number 12. And what you can do is you can bring something good from your bar, that we can have after we
something
sample
to balance the proper 12,
something to wash that taste out of our mouth.
Because it's not going to be. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying I've had it before,
but see, I just want to be able to talk about it like legitimately, like, okay, guys, here's what we're getting, or here's what we're not getting out of the proper number 12, because we've bashed it so many times.
Well, yeah, it's
that it deserves. It deserves a fair trial.
The proper 12 makes me talk in mumbles. You realize that, right?
Apparently, it makes Conor McGregor talk in mumbles as well.
Well, then that's the way he talks. It's whoa. I just put those two things together.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he made the proper 12.
Because
so everyone would talk like him.
No, that could be. It could make it, like you said, it can make that. It can make that happen. Hey, The Rock has a tequila. If I drink that, will I be like The Rock?
Yes. Well, if you lift enough of them with one arm, you will have one giant arm.
It's an awful lot of bottles of The Rock's tequila with one arm to have one giant arm. Well. I'm just saying. Thank you to everybody involved in the program. Thanks to Terry on the Wheels of Steel. Thanks to producer Adam in the cloud. And Ian, this has been fun. I will miss you next week, but not all that much, because I'll be smoking and drinking on the river. So
I expect a picture. We're going to post a picture.
Yeah, you got it. You will have one. Folks, thank you for being here for the program, and thank you to our new affiliate once again in Burley, Idaho, KBAR, News Talk 1230. Thank you guys for coming on board, and we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to having
I want
more.
A picture of you trying to get into the inner tube.
Yeah?
Because that's the funniest part of
that'll
anything.
Be a video. That'll be a video.
Because that river's so cold when you first get in, and then getting in the inner tube is never graceful.
Can you set it to the Benny Hill theme?
Absolutely. That's very good. I like that. Thank you, folks, for joining us here every week for Smoking and Toasting. Remember, you can find us on all of the regular podcast places, and you can find us on YouTube if you want to see the video version of the show.
Put us on in the background, turn the lights down low, everything's good.
Yeah, talk to your special friend. It sets the mood very nicely, especially drinking news. That's what I'm saying.
Drinking news.
Have a great week, everybody, and we will toast you, and we will see you next week. And I'm going to have to go back to my show beer because I drained all of these. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and cheers, y'all.
Sunshine is so good to you.